Have you ever stopped and wondered, what am I really seeing? Is this table, this screen, perhaps even your own reflection in a mirror? Is it all real? Or is it possible, just possible, that your entire understanding of the world is shaped more by your mind than by the world itself? I know, this sounds like the beginning of a sci-fi movie, but I assure you, it's one of the most perplexing and genuine philosophical inquiries of all time. Hi, I'm Olympia, a physicist who can't help but ask unsettling, yet amazing questions. Today, I want to invite you on a journey. We're exploring the philosophy of perception, because, trust me, when it comes to how we perceive the world, all is not as it seems. To begin, let's face an uncomfortable truth. What we call reality is really a construct, one woven together by electrical signals firing in your brain. The red of a rose is not in the rose itself. The softness of your pillow isn't an inherent property either. These sensations, they are created by your brain interpreting sensory inputs. But hold on, how exactly does this work? Let me explain. When light enters your eyes, those photons don't come labeled with rose, pillow, or sky. Nope, they're just energy traveling through a vacuum. Once they hit your retina, a fascinatingly complex process starts. Your retinal cells convert these light signals into electrical impulses, which then rush toward your brain. Your visual cortex squints at this chaotic, energetic mess and basically goes, "Oh, I've seen this before. That's a rose." Or maybe, "A pillow here." But here's the catch. What if your brain's guesses, or processing rules, are not accurate? Now let's grasp a bit of history. If we rewind back a couple of millennia, ancient philosophers like Plato believed our grasp of reality was like watching shadows flicker on a cave wall. What we think of as real is merely a projection, a dim and distorted shadow of the ultimate truth that exists beyond our senses. He called it the allegory of the cave. Fast forward to the modern day. Neuroscientists describe something eerily similar. The human brain doesn't directly interact with the external world. It infers it. What this means is, we don't actually see reality. We see our brain's best interpretation of reality. Think about that. But it gets even weirder. Did you know that your sense of time, one of our most sacred ways of understanding the world, might also be an illusion? There's evidence to suggest that our brains don't process events as they happen, but instead lag slightly behind, stitching a story together to make it feel seamless. In other words, not only could the red of a rose be a mental fabrication, but even when we perceive the rose might also be a carefully crafted narrative. Still with me? Good. Now let's dial up the intensity a notch. There's another mind blower, the phenomenon of inattentional blindness. It proves just how significant the brain's choices and limitations can be. If you focus intently on passing cars, for example, you might completely fail to notice a giant billboard changing colors behind you. The world is instantly edited according to what your mind considers important. Reality? It's not keeping pace. It's whatever your brain prioritizes. Let's return to vision specifically. Here's a wild demonstration of false perception. Close one eye and stare around the room for a moment. Although the back of your retina has a cumbersome blind spot where the optic nerve exits, you never notice it. Why? Your brain actively fills in this gap with its best guess of what should be there. That blank space? It vanishes into thin air, or more accurately, into artificial reality. This brings us smack dab into some intriguing philosophical territory. How do we even define reality? The philosopher Immanuel Kant chimed in centuries ago. He believed there are two realms: the nominal world, which is the objective, true state of reality, entirely unknowable to us, and the phenomenal world, the world we experience through our senses. According to him, reality is fundamentally out of reach. Kant's idea challenges our very sense of certainty. Then, take it a step further, and you enter the universe of phenomenologists like Edmund Husserl. They argue, stop worrying about what's real out there. Focus on how you experience reality instead. For Husserl, investigating subjective experiences could be just as real, if not more relevant, than deciphering an external, definitive truth. So, is there any way to actually break through and experience true reality? If science can't, can philosophy help us? Well, that depends. Thinkers across time have suggested conflicting approaches. Rationalists suggest intellectual reasoning is the key, whereas empiricists lay their bets on sensory data. Idealists maintain reality exists solely as ideas, existing only in the mind. And then there are more contemporary theories. The holographic principle in physics, for instance, hypothesizes that the universe we observe might just be a lower dimensional surface projected into three-dimensional reality. Pause for a moment. Imagine. Are we in 3 dimensions, or are we merely perceiving ourselves that way? If Plato were sitting here, he might nod and say, "Told you, shadows on the cave wall." Now, for the skeptics among us, you might say, "All right, Olympia, this is all fun and surreal, but there's got to be a concrete world out there, right? A rose still smells sweet whether I see it or not, correct?" And to that, I'd respond, possibly, and perhaps, but remember this, the rose can't tell you what it smells like, nor can a beam of light assert, "This hue is red." These experiences, these qualities, are generated by you. The practical skeptic might insist, "But we navigate the world just fine. We drive cars, solve problems, laugh, cry. Surely what we see is accurate." You're not wrong. Our perception is accurate enough, but it may not be complete. Think of the reality you perceive as a map, useful for navigating terrain, but not the terrain itself in full resolution. Truth exists somewhere out there, but we must admit, it's cloaked, elusive, and infinitely complex. So, what's the ultimate takeaway here? Should you doubt every tree, every color, every sound? Not at all. You are here to live, and your perception, even if a fabrication, matters. But taking time to question how much of reality is truly out there versus how much of it is built in here, within your mind, that is an exercise in humility and wonder. To tie things up, I leave you with one question to reflect on. If so much of reality is shaped by your brain, then how do you decide what's truly important? How do you ensure your mental lens remains as clear, unbiased, and open as it can be? These are questions we all must grapple with. These are questions that drive us closer to understanding ourselves. So, are you ready to reconsider the very fabric of your life? I hope you are. Share your thoughts in the comments, because your unique perspective could entirely reshape someone else's too. Let's open this dialogue on what's real and what isn't together. Thank you for journeying into the depths of perception with me today.